Should be live. What's going on, everybody? I'm just winging it here. I'm trying to make a cool little ambient background read aloud thing. So I'm just checking, just by virtue of it being Halloween, and I've been wanting to read more Stoicism. So I started reading Letters from a Stoic a few days ago. And so without further ado, we are going to jump right back in. So this is letter number 8. Are you find contentment and good conscience? Where are those Stoic rules of yours that call a man to die in harness? Come now, do I really give you the impression that I advocate a life of inactivity? I have only buried to be of use to more people. With me, no day is ever whiled away at ease. I claim a good part of my nights for study. I have no time for sleep. I just succumb to it, keeping my eyes at their work when they are heavy-lidded and exhausted from lack of rest. I have withdrawn from affairs, as well as from society, and from my own affairs in particular. I am acting on behalf of later generations. I am writing down a few things that may be used to them. I am committing to writing some helpful recommendations, which might be compared to the formula for successful medications, the effectiveness of which I have experienced but have at least ceased to spread. I am pointing out others to the right path, which I approved of whatever is approved of by the mob, some welcome thing your way. Stop in suspicion and alarm. Wild animals and fish alike are taken by this, and have or that inviting prospect. Do you look on them as presents given by your fortune? They are snares. Any among you who wishes to lead a secure life will do his very best to steer well wide of these baited bounties, which comprise yet another instance of the errors we miserable creatures fall into. We think that these things are ours, when in fact it is we who are caught. That tracks lead to the precipices. Life on the giddy end level falls. There you go. It falls. One moreover, prosperity begins to carry us off, of course. We are no more capable even of bringing the ship to a standstill than to going down with the consolation that she has been held on her course. Or going down once and for all. Fortune does not just capsize the boat. She hurls it headlong on the rocks and dashes it into pieces. Cling, therefore, to the sound and the wholesome plan of life. Indulge the body just so far as suffices for good health. It needs to be treated somewhat strictly to prevent it from being disobedient to the spirit. Your food should appease your hunger. To make some disbursement on this letter's behalf. And the following saying, one I read today, comes from him. To win true freedom, you must be a slave to philosophy. A person who surrenders and subjects himself to her doesn't have his application deferred from day to day. He's emancipated on the spot, and the very service of philosophy being the freedom. Quite possibly you'll be demanding to know why I'm quoting so many fine sayings from Epicurus, rather than the ones belonging to our own school. But why should you think of them belonging to Epicurus and not as common property? Think how many poets say things that philosophers have said, or ought to have said, not to mention the tragedians, or our native Roman drama, which has serious elements of it that stand halfway between comedy and tragedy. Think of the quantity of brilliant lines to be found lying about in farce alone. Think of the number of Publilius verses instead of barefooted pantomime actors. I'll quote one verse of his which belongs to philosophy, and the same facet of philosophy that I was occupied with just now. A verse in which proclaims that gifts which chance brings our way are not to be regarded as possessions. This is the quote. If you pray a thing may, and it does come your way, 'tis a long way from being your own. I recall your expression the same idea a good deal more happily and succinctly. What fortune has made yours is not your own. and I can't pass over the happier expression of yours. The boon that could be given can be withdrawn. This being from your own stock, I'm not debiting it to your account. Letter number 9. You desire to know whether Epicurus is right in which of his letters in criticizing those who maintain that the wise man is content with himself and therefore needs no friend. Those philosophers of a Cynic school, it's a note added here, who believe that the supreme ideal in life is mind devoid of feeling, as we say, impatiens. We are bound to involve ourselves in ambiguity if we try to express a single word, the meaning of the Greek term apatheia, by transferring it into the word impatientia. For it may be understood in the opposite sense to the one we wish, with people taking it to signify the man who is unable to endure anything goes badly for him instead of what we mean by it. The man who refuses to allow anything that goes badly for him to affect him. Consider then whether it might not be preferable to call the mind that is invulnerable or above all suffering. The difference here between the Epicurean and our own school is this. Our wise man feels his troubles but overcomes them, while their wise man does not even feel them. We share with them the belief that the wise man is content with himself. Nevertheless, self-sufficient though he is, he still desires a friend, a neighbor, a companion. Notice how self-contented he is. On occasion, such a man is content with the mere partial self. If he loses a hand as a result of war or disease, or he has one of his eyes, or even both, put out of him on accident, he will be satisfied with what remains of himself, and be no less pleased with his body now that it is maimed and incomplete than it was when it was whole. But while he does not hanker for what he has lost, he does not prefer to lose them. And this is what we mean when we say that the wise man is self-content. He is so in the sense that he is able to do without friends, not that he desires to do without them. When I speak of this, being able to do this, what I am saying in fact amounts to this. He bears the loss of a friend with equanimity. Not that he will be then without a good friend, for it is up to him to decide how soon he makes good the loss. Just as Phidias can carve another statue straight away if he loses one he has lost. I suppose you will want to know then how he will be able to make a friend so quickly. Well, I shall dead and square my accounts so far as the letter is concerned. In quotes, I shall show you, said Hecanto, a love philtre compounded without drug or herb or witch's spell. It is this: if you wish to be loved, then love. Great pleasure is to be found not only in keeping up with the old and establishing friendships, but also in beginning and building up new friendships. This is the same difference between having gained a friend and actually gained a friend, as there is a farmer harvesting and a farmer sowing. The philosopher Attalus used to say that it was more of a pleasure to make a friend than to have one. In the same way that an artist derives more pleasure from the painting than he does from actually having completed a picture. When his whole attention is absorbed in concentration on the work he is engaged in, a tremendous sense of satisfaction is created in him by this very absorption. There is never quite the same gratification after he has lifted his hand from the finished work. From then on, what he is enjoying is the art's end product, whereas it was the art itself that he enjoyed while he was actually painting. So with our children, their growing up brings wider fruits, but their infancy was sweeter. To come back to the question, the wise man, self-sufficient as he is, still desires to have a friend if only for the purpose of practicing friendship and ensuring that those talents are not idle. Not, as Epicurus put it in the same letter, for the purpose of having someone to come and sit beside on his bed when he is ill, or to come, he may have someone by whose sickness he himself may sit, and whom he may himself release when that person is held prisoner by hostile hands. Anyone thinking of his own interests and seeking out friendship with this in the view is making a great mistake. Things will end as they began. He has secured a friend who is going to come to his aid if captivity threatens, At the first clank of a chain, that friend will disappear. These are what are commonly called fair weather friendships. A person adopted as a friend for the sake of his usefulness will be cultivated only so far as he is useful. This explains the crowd of friends that cluster about successful men, and the lonely atmosphere about the ruined. They're friends, running away when it comes to the testing point. It explains the countless scandalous instances of people deserting or betraying others out of fear for themselves. The ending inevitably matches the beginning. A person who starts being friends with you because it pays him well will similarly cease to be friends because it doesn't pay him to do so. If there is anything in a particular friendship that attracts a man other than the friendship itself, the attraction of some reward or some other counterbalance some other reward will counterbalance that of the friendship. What is my object in making a friend? To have someone to be able to die for, someone I may follow into exile, someone for whose life I may put myself up as security and pay the price as well. The thing you describe is not friendship but a business deal, looking at the likely consequences, with advantage as its goal. There can be no doubt that the desire lovers have for each other is not so very different from friendship, as you might say. It was friendship gone mad. And then, does anyone ever fall in love with a view to profit, or advance, or become a celebrity? Actual love in and of itself is heedless of all other considerations, and it inflames people's hearts with a passion for the beautiful object, not without the hope, too, that the affection will be mutual. How then can the noblest stimulus of friendships be associated with any ignoble desire? You may say we are not at present concerned with the question whether friendship is something to be cultivated for its own sake. But this, on the contrary, is exactly what needs proving most. For its friendship is something to be sought out for its own sake. The self-contented man is entitled to pursue it. And how does he approach it? In the same way that he would any object of great beauty, not drawn by a gain, not out of alarm, at the vicissitudes of fortune. To procure friendship only for better, and not for worse, is to rob all of its dignity. In quotes, the wise man is contented with himself, unquotes. A lot of people, Lucilius, put quite the wrong interpretation of this statement. They remove from the wise man all contact with the world outside, shutting him up inside of his own skin. We must make say, it applies to him so far as happiness in life is concerned. For this all needs to be rational. It's a great number of things. I should like to draw your attention to a similar distinction made by Chrysippus. The wise man, he said, lacked nothing but needed a great number of things, whereas the fool, on the other hand, needs nothing, but lacks everything. The wise man needs hands and eyes and a great number of things that are required for the purposes of day-to-day life. But he lacks for nothing. For lacking something implies that it is necessary and that it is a necessity and nothing. To the wise man, it is a necessity. Self-contented as he is, he does need friends, and wants as many of them as possible, but not to enable him to lead a happy life. This he will have even without friends. The supreme ideal does not call for any external aids. It is homegrown and wholly self-developed. Once it starts, but what sort of life, people may say, will the wise man have if he is going to be left without friends when he is thrown into prison, or stranded among foreigners, or detained in the course of some voyage in a distant and faraway shore? It will be like that of duration, when the universe is dissolved and the gods are all merged in one, finding repose in himself, absorbed in his own thoughts. Such is more or less the way of the wise man. He retires to his inner self, in his own company, to order his own affairs. He marries, even when he brings up his children. He is self-content, and yet he would refuse to live as if he had to live without human company at all. Natural promptings impel him towards friendship. We are born with a sense of pleasantness of friendship, just as many other things. In the same way, where it exists a distaste for solitude and a craving for society, natural instincts drawing one human being to another, so too are we there with something inherent that stimulates us into seeking friendship. The wise man, nevertheless, unqualled though he is with devotion to his friends, though regarding them as being no less important and frequently more important than his own self, will still consider what is valuable in life to be something wholly confined to his inner self. He will repeat the words of Stilbo, the Stilbo whom Epicurus's letter attacks. When his hometown was captured and he emerged from the general conflagration, his children lost, his wife lost, alone and nonetheless a happy man, and was questioned by Demetrius. Asked by Demetrius the city sacker, whether he had lost anything, he replied, "I have all my valuables with me. There was an active and courageous man, victory over the victory of the enemy. I have lost," he said, "nothing." He made Demetrius wonder whether he had won a victory at all. "All my possessions," he said, "are with me," meaning by this the quantities of a just, a good, and an enlightened character, and indeed the very fact of not regarding a valuable anything that is capable of being taken away. We are impressed at the way some creatures pass right through fire without physical harm. How it is much more impressive is the way the man came through the burning and the bloodshed and the ruins uninjured and unscathed. Does it make you see how much easier it is to... Those words of Stilbo are equally those of a Stoic. He too carried his valuables intact through cities burnt to ashes, for he is contented with himself. This is the line people who produce noble sayings. Let me tell you something. See that you put this down to my credit, even though I have already settled my account with you for today. Epicurus himself, who has said nothing good for Stilbo, has uttered a statement quite like this one of any Stilbos. Any man, he said, who does not think that he has more than ample is an unhappy man, even if he is a master of the whole world. Or if you prefer to see it expressed like this, the point being that we shouldn't be ruled by actual words used, but by the sense of them. A man is unhappy, though he reigned the world over, if he does not consider himself supremely happy. To show you, indeed, that these are sentiments of a universal character, prompted evidently by nature herself, you will find the following verse in a comic poet. Not happy he who thinks himself not so. Authorship unknown. What difference does yourself? What about so-so, you may ask, who became rich in this or that despicable manner, or such and such a person who gives the orders to great many people, but is at the mercy of a great many more? Supposing they say they are happy, will their own opinions to this effect make them happy? It does not make any difference what a man says. What matters is how he feels, and not how he feels on one particular day or another, but how he feels at all times. But you have no need to fear that satisfaction with itself. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there, my friends. So that was letter number 10, I believe, or letter number 9. Next, we have letter number 11, which we will get back to in another video. But for the time being, I am going to wrap this up. I really appreciate all of you being here. And without further ado, take it easy. Have a great day.